province's police watchdog is looking into a police-involved shooting in Brampton that left a man with serious injuries.
And the city's response to the first heat wave of the year, that's the big topic at City Hall today. We're going to tell you all about it.
And Ontario's ombudsman says there has been a big jump in complaints about the correctional system. We'll have more on the annual report out today.
And one of the world's largest sporting goods retailers, Decathlon, is leaving the GTA. We're going to tell you what this means for shoppers just ahead.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Sija Liu. Welcome to Live at 5. The province's police watchdog is looking into a police shooting in Brampton that left a man with serious injuries.
CP24's Arda Zakarian continues our live coverage from the scene. Arda.
Special Investigations Unit was on the scene here conducting their on-site investigation. Also, Peel Regional Police conducting their own investigation into what happened here. This happened 9:50 in the morning inside this apartment building right behind me on the 6th floor. That's when a person that was inside the apartment called police, and they said that they were worried about a person inside the apartment, and they were worried that that person would grab a knife. And sure enough, once police arrived, that person did have a knife in their hand, a sharp-edged weapon, and that's when there was a short interaction between Peel Regional Police and this individual, this 35-year-old man, and police shot at this man. He was wounded in the abdomen area, was taken to hospital in non-life-threatening condition to Sunnybrook, and he's since in stable condition. Here's more from police as well as one witness.
From the time the call was placed to police to the time the officers arrived on scene was very, very short in duration. Circumstances that arise based on information provided by the complainants are always assessed, and then the subsequent requests are made by officers responding. So if there was a mention of any type of mental health concerns, then either the responding officers or the supervising patrol sergeant will make requests for those units that you've mentioned. Whether or not it was done in this one, at this point, I can't confirm that.
He's very calm. He's very calm. So I even told him that, okay, next time when you see, because people are reporting to me that he's normally sleeping because I'm the super. So when I saw the card, I said, okay, you know what? Please, next time don't sleep here. Make sure when you finish, you go back. And he said, oh, because when I'm doing my laundry, I have to wait till it dries before. That's why I'm sleeping here. I said, okay, then that's it.
And that last person was the superintendent of the building. He says previously he had interaction with this person, said he was always very quiet, kept to himself, but he did catch him sleeping in the laundry room when he figured out that he did in fact live in this building. He told him not to do that anymore. Now, preliminary information according to the SIU and Peel Regional Police say that there may be some mental health concerns here that they were dealing with. He has possible history as well. Now, they are looking into a number of things, both Peel Police as well as SIU. They are looking into canvassing the area, speaking to witnesses, grabbing CCTV footage, as well as body cam footage. That initial interaction between police and this individual, what happened there as soon as police arrived, that's going to be key to this investigation. Back to you.
Okay, live in Brampton, CP24's Arda Zakarian. Arda, thank you. It's 5:03. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Intia Yabwa. Adj.
Yeah, Bakari, problems are just piling up for the afternoon drive and watching a pretty significant issue that is taking place on the 401 westbound. This is in the Express, just as you make your way as you head through Mississauga Road. It's actually on the eastbound side. If you're in the Express, it looks like only that right shoulder is getting by. Pylons are going into the two left lanes and the HOV lanes, the only lanes that are through here. If you can, do yourself a favor, stick with the collectors. Again, traffic really backed up on the approach. Now, further east on the 401, underneath the 410, we had one lane blocked. It was emergency roadwork that was happening. Looks like they managed to do that work rather quickly. And then further east on the 401, it looks like problems just cleared in the collectors at Leslie. We had some problems. They were in the right lane. They cleared. Still have this collision, though, westbound at 401 in the Express through Dufferin. Collision involving two vehicles. It is the right lane block. No emergency crews on scene. scene. And we are dealing with this stalled truck. It was blocking the right lane. It looks like it managed to squeeze over to the side, but partially in that right lane, so drive with a bit of extra care. Just a reminder, if you're headed towards Newmarket and you're headed towards Davis Drive, still closed in either direction between Bathurst and Dufferin following a fatal collision.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
One person is dead after a violent crash in Newmarket.
A dump truck, tractor trailer, and passenger vehicle collided at Davis Drive and Dufferin Street just after 10 o'clock this morning. And police say one person was pronounced dead at the scene. One person was rushed to a trauma center with serious injuries, and a third went to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. So the major collision unit is still investigating. Any witnesses are being asked to contact police.
Well, it's been extremely hot the last couple of days, and closed pools during this extreme heat is just one of the many issues up for discussion at Toronto City Council today.
Let's check in with CP24's Phil Perkins, who joins us live from City Hall, continuing our coverage. Phil, let's hear about the conversation.
Well, Bakari and CJ, yeah, this is just the latest. It seems to be a fundamental, foundational thing of experiencing life in the city of Toronto that the City Hall has just kind of dropped the ball, really. It came with the vacant home tax, mess up a couple months ago, waiting 3 weeks for snow to be plowed, and now during a heat warning where we had temperatures feeling in the low to mid 40s that the city knew about, that pools were closed, up to 8 pools were closed for several hours intermittently as people were trying to find a cheap, because these are free pools, way to stay cool. We've done multiple reports of condo complexes in the city without any AC, and a local city pool is a place that people would go to try to cool off. And so today, City Hall, Mayor Olivia Chow is proposing a reevaluation on how they deal with hot weather events, and that includes having more medical staff for lifeguards to stay cool and stay safe, having 24-hour cooling centers. They have hired more lifeguards because staffing was definitely an issue as the reason why they had to close some of these pools intermittently. However, that plan will not be implemented until the fall and winter. So very much a reactionary move from the City of Toronto. Here's Alejandro Bravo as well as Brad Bradford talking about the initiative.
Heat waves are moving up earlier in the year. The good news is that council had the foresight to open the pools early. Now we're putting in fixes to make sure medical personnel are ensuring that staff are there and the pools don't close. The work around cooling spaces for people to get inside, especially vulnerable people, has been started by the Toronto Shelter Division, but I think we need to do more. And what I'll be looking for is making sure that every city asset is reviewed for the possibility of its use to provide space to cool, including overnight.
It's frustrating because I think a lot of Torontonians have seen their tax bill go up, record-breaking increases, 25% tax hike over the past 3 years, and yet the basic services continue to underwhelm, whether that was the snow not being removed a few months ago or the pools not being open during a heat wave. These are the basics that they expect us to get right, and the mayor keeps dropping the ball on this stuff. So at the end of the day, local government needs to focus on core priorities, those core services. You know, the fact that people are calling 911 right now and they're being put on hold, it's totally unacceptable.
And mind you, while pools are open, waiting pools in many parts of the city not open. Now, currently, councils are debating introducing 5 and 6 plexes in low-rise neighborhoods. That includes Scarborough North as well as Etobicoke. 4 plexes are already allowed, and now they're trying to push to see if 5 and 6 plexes should be introduced in this city. And we're hearing both sides. Some think that it could ruin a neighborhood. Other things that neighborhoods need reinvestment and help with that missing middle when it comes to housing. Back to you, too.
Okay, Phil Perkins reporting live from the City Hall meeting. Thanks so much for that update. 3 people are facing charges after 2 people from Toronto lost nearly $300,000 in a home renovation scam.
And police say that the suspects operated businesses in the GTA between March of 2024 and March of 2025. Investigators say that they offered their services to 2 residents and coached them on how to get a mortgage on their homes to pay for the work. So police believe that the suspects collected bank drafts from the victims without intending to complete the renovations. And there was a groundbreaking today for a new hospital in Mississauga.
The 2.8 million square foot Peter Gilgan Mississauga Hospital will eventually replace the existing Mississauga Hospital. The Ford government says when completed, it will be the largest teaching hospital in the country and creates one of the biggest emergency departments in the province. It will also include the Shaw Family Hospital for Women and Children, which will have one of the largest neonatal intensive care units in Ontario.
This is beautiful, isn't it? It's incredible.
But is it enough for Ontario's healthcare system?
Yeah, well, $60 billion. We're building more than anywhere in North America, 50 different sites, $14 billion here will be the largest in the country, adding 3,000 beds.
We need to show progress. We need to celebrate success. We need to acknowledge that the donors who've stepped up, the volunteers who work every single day in our hospital system need to be acknowledged. So 100%, we need to celebrate those successes. And I think today is a really excellent example of when you get communities together, this is what happens.
The province says more than $14 billion is being spent on the Peter Gilgan Mississauga Hospital. It's still unclear when it's going to be completed. Well, another retailer has announced it's closing all locations in the GTA.
Yeah, this one is Decathlon, one of the world's largest sporting goods retailers. It's going to shut down stores in the region, citing changes in the retail landscape. So the company will shift its focus to online shopping and same-day shipping and will consider a return to brick-and-mortar stores with a smaller footprint in the GTA in the future. And retail analyst Bruce Winder says that the closures show how hard it is to compete in the GTA.
I have a feeling, they overestimated the market. They had 5 stores in the GTA, 5 big, beautiful stores and a pop-up. And the GTA is a tough market. There's a lot of competition here. You've got independents, you've got Sporting Life, you've got Sport Check, a whole bunch of people here. Rents are high, as you know, and the economy's tough in Toronto. There's a lot of folks who are watching their money, avoiding spending on discretionary items.
The stores being shuttered are located in Brampton, Burlington, Markham, Scarborough, and Vaughan. It's 5:11, 29 degrees, but feels like 27. This is Live at 5.
Well, Ontario's ombudsman says that there's been a big jump in complaints about the correctional system. Details after the break. Ontario Ombudsman Paul Dubé is highlighting a big jump in complaints about the correctional system. This is in his annual report. It was released today.
CP24's Melissa Duggan is joining us live with the details. And Melissa, what are some of the findings?
Yeah, Seja and Bakari, this is an annual report we're hearing from the Ombudsman every year. And this time, he's really highlighting the need for reform when it comes to the province's correctional facilities, addressing what's being described as a growing crisis in overcrowded sites. The report is pointing to a 55% increase in complaints about correctional facilities in the past year. We do know that the Ombudsman is investigating the incident at Maplehurst Jail in 2023. That's when inmates were zip-tied and strip-searched by guards wearing riot gear after a corrections officer was assaulted. The province is facing 5 lawsuits from former inmates related to that case. Here's more of what we're hearing from the Ombudsman today.
Many of those complaints were about more severe entrenched problems. Overcrowding, 3 inmates in cells made for 2. Frequent lockdowns, inadequate health care, Indigenous inmates with no access to a Native inmate liaison officer, inmates with mental health issues being placed in segregation, which is not supposed to happen. And then there was the Maplehurst incident, a 2-day ordeal in December of 2023, where many inmates were so poorly treated that they have had the charges against them reduced or even dismissed by judges.
The report also goes on to describe deteriorating conditions that his staff has recorded, putting that in the spotlight and calling for meaningful systemic reform that respects the rights of inmates in a moral imperative. We are getting reaction to this report today from MPP Kristen Wong-Tam, the NDP critic of the Attorney General. Here's some of that.
There isn't too much that's surprising, just because we've now been hearing from inmates, from their lawyers. We have been hearing from legal observers around the crisis in corrections. But I think having the numbers to quantify it, is really what is top of mind. The Ombudsman has been very clear over a number of years now. He has flagged that he's been receiving these complaints. In previous Ombudsman's report, this is number 50, but in previous Ombudsman's report, the number of complaints coming in about the corrections facilities and the system is always, top line.
Just moments ago, we did see Premier Doug Ford in the halls here. We asked him if he has a comment on this report. Not prepared for a comment at this time, but he did speak out when it came to the situation at Maplehurst earlier today, saying that those who have been found to break any rules, they should be held accountable. At this point, we are still waiting for a wider reaction from the province when it comes to this report. Back to you.
Okay, Melissa Duggan reporting live from Queen's Park. Thank you so much. The Liberal government will table a bill this fall introducing stricter bail conditions and sentencing for some crimes.
This involves organized crime, human trafficking, home invasion, and car theft. Justice Minister Sean Fraser says that the government will consider including additional reforms, but at minimum will implement the crime policies that the Liberals promised during the federal election. So Fraser was named Justice Minister by Prime Minister Mark Carney in May. This is following an election campaign which saw Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre blame the Liberals for a wave of violent crime. Well, some experts are predicting a bit of a rough ride for Canada's economy this year.
It's part of a new forecast published by Deloitte Canada today. It suggests we're in for a modest recession in the second and third quarters of the year. That's due in large part to uncertainty over the economy and the fallout from tariffs being slapped on several sectors. But the economy did have a strong first quarter as businesses rushed to fill orders ahead of the looming tariffs. Dawn Desjardins, chief economist at Deloitte Canada, says there is no doubt consumer confidence is shaky right now.
And that is really depressing. Economic activity, businesses hesitant to put money to work, not sure where demand's going to be coming from. And of course, this is also filtering into the consumer side where people are concerned about job security. So we're seeing some weakness in our economy. And we think in the near term, we're probably going to have to continue to live with this.
And it's also predicted that Canada's unemployment rate is going to rise to 7.3% this fall. The latest May numbers had the rate at 7% even. Well, the city's announcing its plans for Canada Day.
The main event is at Ashbridges Bay Park. The city says there will be a 14-minute fireworks display starting at 10 p.m. There will also be fireworks at Centennial Park, Milliken Park, Amesbury Park, Stan Watlow Park, and Mel Lastman Square, also at 10 o'clock. Nathan Phillips Square will have face painting and live music from noon to 5:30. And Thompson Memorial Park will have a parade and pancake breakfast that goes from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Meanwhile, the federal government has set a budget for Canada Day programming in the National Capital Region, but is refusing to say what it is. Canada Day celebrations in Ottawa and Gatineau typically cost millions of dollars for things like fireworks, performances, and national broadcasts. A spokesperson for Heritage Canada says while there is a budget, the department won't provide the number until after the celebrations are over. Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault and Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne did not respond to requests for comment. It's 5:19, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5.
NATO leaders agree on a massive hike in defense spending. So we're going to have more on this and other things that were discussed at The Hague. That's just ahead.
NATO leaders, including Prime Minister Mark Carney, have agreed on a massive hike in defense spending after pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump.
CP24's Andrew Brennan joins us live with the latest on the NATO meeting, as well as Carney's commitment to spend billions more on defense. Andrew.
Yeah, Bakari, Sija, the question really is going to become how are we paying for it? The good news is, well, when I have a problem that I can't solve right now, I tend to say it's a future Andrew problem. In this case, the way that the Prime Minister is talking about it is we are going to have a future Canadian problem on how to pay for this, but it's not something that we can really decide right now or have any semblance of like a crystal ball to tell us where we're going. Imagine 10 years ago, the last time that NATO upped its defense spending targets for its member nations. It went to 2%. At that time, we didn't have a president in the White House who had threatened to leave NATO if other countries didn't increase their spending. There hadn't been an invasion of Ukraine and war in Europe for the first time since the Second World War. And there also hadn't been a geopolitical crisis in the Middle East. All of these things, or at least we should say there was not a pronounced one as we have seen since 2023. That being said, the Prime Minister has told Canadians today that ultimately we're thinking about the world we live in right now.
The fact that we are doing this today, the fact that we're united, the fact that the United States is fully behind this, the fact that we're working together is going to reduce the threat environment 10 years from now. Certainly, I mean, now, we'll never be able to precisely answer that, what it would have been versus what it is there, but the deterrence element of NATO has just gone up substantially, and it's crucial. And we would really feel it if we went in the other direction.
By the end of the decade, though, or into the 2030s, ultimately, that's when Canadians will have to decide to meet these defense spending targets by 2035. What will give? Will there be less spending somewhere else? Will taxes go up? Ultimately, like I said, a problem down the road, but ultimately, Bakari, CJ, we will have to pay roughly $150 billion in today's money in order to get to that target in 2035.
Yeah, major commitment made by the Prime Minister today. Thanks so much, Andrew. It's 5:24, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And the NBA draft is happening tonight. Coming up, we're going to tell you who to watch for and who has the first pick.
Toronto FC will play its first match in nearly a month tonight.
Picks out a Bonner. That's a pinch of a pass. It's Leanna Bonner. And he squares it back. There's Bale to arrive and to score for Charlotte.
Okay, so the Reds are in the middle of 5 straight games at BMO Field. They've lost 3 in a row. And TFC is 14th in the Eastern Conference, 12 points out of the final play-in spot. And kickoff tonight is set for 7:30.
And the NBA draft is also tonight.
Yeah, the Dallas Mavericks have their first overall pick, and they are all but guaranteed to take Duke standout Cooper Flagg. So in his one season, Flagg led the Blue Devils in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, and even to the Final Four. The Raptors have the 9th and 39th picks.
Interesting to see who they'll pick. Well, it's 5:28. 29 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And the province's police watchdog is looking into a police-involved shooting in Brampton. It's left a man with serious injuries. We're going to have more on this just ahead. And the province's police watchdog is looking into a police-involved shooting in Brampton. This left a man with serious injuries.
The city's response to the first heat wave of the year is a big topic at City Hall today. We'll tell you all about it.
Ontario's ombudsman says there's been a big jump in complaints about the correctional system. We'll have more in the annual report out today.
And one of the world's largest sporting goods retailers, Decathlon, is leaving the GTA. We'll tell you what this means for shoppers just ahead.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm CJ Liu.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. The province's police watchdog is looking into a police shooting in Brampton. It left a man with serious injuries.
And for more on this, let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian from the scene. In Arda, what is the latest that we know so far?
Well, we know that this all started at 9:50 this morning. That's when police were called here to the scene. This is an apartment building in the area of Malta Avenue and Ray Lawson Boulevard in Brampton. They were called because there was a person in distress. The person that called, a family member, was worried about the person, worried that they were going to grab a knife. And sure enough, when police came on the scene, that person, a 35-year-old male, was holding a knife. There was a brief interaction between police and this individual. And then a shot was fired, a single shot, and that hit the person's abdomen. They were rushed to Sunnybrook Hospital in non-life-threatening condition. Since then, this person has been stabilized. We heard from SIU and one person who heard the bang.
There were some family members in the unit, and there was a bit of a disturbance. An individual a family member called police just concerned about her family member and the way he was acting. As far as any specifics that may have been occurring prior to police arrival, that would be something that Peel Regional Police would be looking at.
Just one lady that she was screaming. She said, "Oh my God," like so loud, but I didn't know, like usually sometimes people screaming for nothing, you know? But it was sad screaming.
There was a very brief time period between when police arrived and when that gunshot was fired, and that's exactly what SIU and Peel Police will be looking at. They will both be conducting their own investigations. That initial conversation, what happened to just prior to that shot being fired. They're going to be looking at a number of things, including CCTV footage. They're going to be interviewing a number of witnesses, canvassing the area, as well as reviewing the body camera footage from the police. Back to you.
A very meticulous investigation. Thanks so much. Police are investigating a robbery at a cell phone store in Etobicoke.
This had happened around 4 o'clock at a plaza. This is at Kipling and the Queensway, and police say that the suspect stole a quantity of merchandise before driving off in a dark-colored vehicle. No injuries have been reported.
Well, let's turn now for a check on the commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjoa Yeboah. And Adjoa, lots of people blasting their AC today.
They're going to need it. It's still hot out there, not as hot as yesterday and the day before, but AC is a must if you're making your way out, and so is patience, because a lot of problems impacting the drive. So we'll start with these issues through Mississauga, eastbound on the 401 in the Express, just as you make your way through Mississauga Road. Only that right shoulder getting behind the Express following this multi-vehicle collision. A lot of emergency crews are still on scene of this, and those delays, they do extend from as far back as Winston Churchill and then headed towards the 401 on the westbound side. Really busy starting from the Don Valley Parkway out towards Dufferin. It looks like I have some good news. We had a collision in the Express through Dufferin. It was the two right lanes that were blocked. Those problems just cleared away. And you know what? We had some issues reported on the northbound 427 at Dairy Rexdale. Was a collision, was in the right lane. It's since been cleared. We are dealing with problems that I can't see because my camera went out, but westbound 401 in the Express at Victoria Park, it is a stall. It does have the right lane blocked. And a reminder, unfortunately, in Newmarket, Davis Drive remains closed both ways between Dufferin and Bathurst from this morning following a fatal collision investigation. I'll send it back to you both.
Thanks so much, Adjoa. Now, speaking of that fatal collision in Newmarket, one person is dead after a violent crash this morning.
A dump truck, tractor trailer, and passenger vehicle collided at Davis Drive and Dufferin Street just after 10 o'clock this morning. Police say one person was pronounced dead at the scene. One person was rushed to a trauma center with serious injuries, and a third went to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The major collision unit is still investigating. Any witnesses are being asked to contact York Police.
Closed pools during the extreme heat is just one of the many issues up for discussion at Toronto City Council meeting today.
CP24's Phil Perkins has been following the conversation and joins us live from City Hall with the latest. Phil.
Bakari, CJ, that's right. We're still getting a lot of heat heading towards Mayor Olivia Chow and City Council and how ill-prepared they seem to be heading into this well-publicized heat wave that is heading our way for the last couple of days. We're just getting out of it now. Temperatures feeling in the low 40s to mid-40s with the humidity. The mayor having even a newser the day before that this heat wave hit Southern Ontario and saying that pools will be open early and talking about some will be open until 11:45 in the evening. They did not mention that several pools will be closed for several hours intermittently to make sure that lifeguards stay cool, but that's exactly what happened on Sunday, and people were not happy about that. Long lines outside pools as lifeguards were cooling off a little bit. A city spokesperson saying that they were just following provincial rules. We heard from the Premier as well as the Ministry of Labour that they never sent inspectors to pools ordering any of them to be shut down, and this was simply this city's doing. And so now Mayor Olivia Chow is proposing a review on how they deal with hot weather situations, and that includes having medics with lifeguards to make sure they're safe, revisiting 24-hour cooling centers, among other things. But in the meantime, they have hired more lifeguards. They're also It's talking about introducing 5 and 6 plexes. 4 plexes are already allowed in homes across the city, but now they're looking at low-rise areas like Scarborough, North, as well as Etobicoke to try to introduce 5 and 6 plexes. Pretty heated debate happening right now. Some councillors saying that investment is needed, others saying that this will ruin neighborhoods. Spoke with Brad Bradford. This is what he had to say about it.
I certainly support it in my community in Beaches, East York, and we have examples of sixplexes that have been there for 100 years. Neighborhoods like the Annex, same thing. That's been a typical urban form that's existed for a long time. But what we're hearing from some of our council colleagues is the work hasn't been done in some of those neighborhoods to bring people along. And at the end of the day, I think it's important that we can get something passed, move the ball down the field here on sixplexes. So I'm hoping that there is a compromise where we can advance it.
And a couple more motions about this getting pretty heated here at City Council. I couldn't hear exactly what they're saying, Bakari and CJ, because I was talking at the same time, but definitely a lot of animated councillors speaking right now. It's not just heated outside, it's heated here as well in council chambers. Back to you.
Okay, live from City Hall, CP24's Phil Perkins. Thank you. Well, 3 people are facing charges after 2 Toronto residents lost nearly $300,000. This in a home renovation scam.
Police say the suspects operated businesses in the GTA between March 2024 and March 2025. Investigators say they offered their services to 2 residents and coached them on how to get a mortgage on their homes to pay for the work. Police believe the suspects collected bank drafts from the victims without intending to complete the renovations. And there was a groundbreaking today for a new hospital in Mississauga.
The 2.8 million square foot Peter Gilgan Mississauga Hospital. It'll eventually replace the existing Mississauga Hospital. The Ford government says when completed, it'll become the largest teaching hospital in Canada and create one of the biggest emergency departments in the province. It will also include the Shaw Family Hospital for Women and Children, which will have one of the largest neonatal intensive care units in the province.
This is beautiful, isn't it? It's incredible.
But is it enough for Ontario's healthcare system?
Yeah, well, $60 billion. We're building more than anywhere in North America, 50 different sites, $14 billion here will be the largest in the country, adding 3,000 beds.
We need to show progress. We need to celebrate success. We need to acknowledge that the donors who've stepped up, the volunteers who work every single day in our hospital system need to be acknowledged. So 100%, we need to celebrate those successes. And I think today is a really excellent example of when you get communities together, this is what happens.
The province says that more than $14 billion is being spent on the Peter Gilgan Mississauga Hospital, but it's not yet clear when it's going to be completed. Okay, another retailer has announced that it's closing all locations in the GTA.
Decathlon, one of the world's largest sporting goods retailer, will shut down its stores in the region, citing changes in the retail landscape. The company will shift its focus to online shopping and same-day shipping and will consider a return to brick-and-mortar stores with a smaller footprint in the GTA in the future. Retail analyst Bruce Winder says he expects Decathlon will be one of many companies that decide to shut down their stores in the months ahead.
The economy is really tough right now. People are really watching out for their discretionary purchases, and it's really hard to compete against Amazon. They can get you a product in 7 hours in the Toronto market, and they have 300 million items on their website. So really tough to compete with some of the international champions that we face here.
Well, the stores being shuttered are located in Brampton, Burlington, Markham, Scarborough, and Vaughan. Right now it's 5:40, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Ontario's ombudsman says there has been a big jump in complaints about the correctional system. We'll have more on the findings after the break. Ontario Ombudsman Paul Dubé is highlighting a big jump in complaints about the correctional system in his annual report today that was released.
Let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan from Queen's Park. Melissa.
Bakari and Sija, we are just getting some fresh reaction from the Ministry of the Solicitor General to this Ombudsman report that was just out today. It is pointing the finger at what they're describing as a growing crisis in overcrowded correctional facilities in our province. And it says that reform is needed. They are pointing to a 55% increase when it comes to complaints dealing with correctional facilities in Ontario. And we also know that the Ombudsman is investigating a situation at one particular institution, that's Maplehurst Jail, in 2023. In that case, inmates were zip-tied and strip-searched by guards wearing riot gear after a corrections officer was assaulted. The province is facing 5 lawsuits from former inmates when it comes to that case. But I want to get back to what we heard from the Ombudsman today. Here's more of what he had to say.
Overall, the conditions that we are seeing and hearing about in correctional system not only fail to meet the basic expectations of fairness and dignity, but in some cases actively undermine the very principles of justice and human rights that we are committed to protecting. This is a challenge that requires urgent attention and a long-term commitment to meaningful reform.
And just coming into us, we have this response from the spokesperson for the Ministry of the Solicitor General sharing a statement with us. It says, we expect all correctional staff to uphold their standards of conduct as outlined in the Ontario Correctional Service Code. We will review the Ombudsman report as well as build on the record investments we've made to hire more staff and increase mental health and addiction care for those that are in need within the correction system. We're also getting reaction from the NDP critic of the Attorney General, Kristen Wong-Tam, MPP. Here's with that comment.
The fix is making sure that we have adequate investments in the courts. We are seeing the highest court backlogs in record. We're seeing the longest wait time in getting a case to trial. And we're also seeing horrific conditions in the corrections facility. Over 80% of the inmates are actually just waiting for trial.
Comment from Premier Doug Ford. We just did see him in the hallway this hour, asking him if he has a specific response to this report. He says he still needs some time to review it, but we did get a comment from him earlier today. When it comes to the situation at Maplehurst, he says anyone who's found to have broken any rules, they should be held accountable. Bakari and Sija, back to you.
Okay, continuing live coverage from Queen's Park, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Thanks, Melissa. And the Liberal government is going to table a bill this fall introducing stricter bail conditions and sentencing for some crimes.
This involves organized crime, human trafficking, home invasion, and car theft. Justice Minister Sean Fraser says the government will consider including additional reforms, but at minimum will implement the crime policies the Liberals promised during the federal election. Fraser was named Justice Minister by Prime Minister Mark Carney in May following an election campaign which saw Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre blame the Liberals for a wave of violent crime. And it looks like the lockout at delivery service DHL Express is about to end.
The union representing the 2,100 workers says that it's reached a tentative agreement with DHL. So the workers were locked out. This is on the 8th of June. All operations ground to a halt last Friday. The company and union battled over DHL's use of replacement workers during the dispute. The agreement still has to be voted on, which will likely happen in a few days. 2 Canadian hockey players who were playing professionally in Israel, they're back in Canada.
Timothy Payne and Brandon Lucheski landed at Pearson Airport this morning. Both arrived in Israel 1 week before the war with Iran. We caught up with them at the airport this morning where they spoke about their experience.
It was unexpected. It was scary. It was a lot. I thought we were going to be stuck there, so happy to be back home.
Yeah. You were in the bomb shelters every night. Just walk me through, what was that like when you heard the sirens going?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a bomb shelter built into our house, so every night when the alarms go off, we got to run to one, and that was like down the street. So every night it was in and out, running down the street.
Oh, it was crazy. It's surreal, honestly. Like, not many people can relate to having rockets shot at you, so it was definitely surreal. We were super safe, though. Honestly, we followed all the guidelines, went to all the shelters and stuff, and we were pretty safe. But yeah, there's definitely some scary moments for sure.
Payne and Lucchese were 2 of 15 Canadians set to play in the Israel Elite Hockey League. They say some chose to stay in Israel to wait out the war and continue playing.
The city is announcing its plans for Canada Day celebrations.
The main event is at Ash Bridges Bay Park. The city says there will be a 14-minute fireworks display starting at 10 p.m. There will also be fireworks at Centennial Park, Milliken Park, Amesbury Park, Stan Watlow Park, and Mel Lastman Square, also at 10. Nathan Phillips Square will have face painting and live music from noon to 5:30. And Thompson Memorial Park will have a parade and pancakes that go from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And the federal government has set a budget for Canada Day programming in the nation capital, but it's refusing to say what it is. So Canada Day celebrations in Ottawa and Gatineau typically cost millions of dollars for things like fireworks, performances, and national broadcasts. A spokesperson for Heritage Canada says while there is a budget, the department will not provide the number until after the celebrations are over. Heritage Minister Stephen Cabot and Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne didn't respond to requests for comment. It's 5:49, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5.
NATO leaders agree on a massive hike in defense spending. We'll have more on this and the other topics discussed at The Hague just ahead.
NATO leaders, including Prime Minister Mark Carney, have agreed on a massive hike in defense spending after pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump.
CP24's Andrew Brennan is live in the studio with the latest on the NATO meeting and Carney's major commitment to spend billions more on defense. Andrew.
Yeah, Sija, Bakari, the question is going to become how Canada pays for it, but it's a problem that is going to be pushed down the road a little bit. There's no requirements for any of the 27 NATO countries to ultimately have this 5% of GDP spending be done incrementally. It's just that the requirement is by 2035 that they all will be having 5% of what their GDP is be spent on defense. And of that, only 3.5% has to be what's described as core defense spending. All of this as an aside, though, as much as there are those in the defense community that are happy to see Canada in the current geopolitical climate that we have, spending more to update, in some cases, parts of our military that have not seen the upgrades that they feel should have been there even decades ago. It still is a question of doing this while also realizing the not just geopolitical problems of the day, but the economic ones. I don't know if you recall the talk on tariffs that we've had with the United States and the challenges there. Well, the big problem with Canada spending more on defense is you'd have to buy so much more from America. But that being said, we spoke with David Perry not long ago. He's one of the preeminent people understanding defense spending in the world and is the president of the Canadian Global Affairs Institute. He says there are some options here.
In a lot of senses, the United States does make some of the best hardware in the world, but it doesn't make all the best hardware in the world. Some of that's made at home in Canada, and other parts of it are made in other industries in Asia or in Europe. I think there's no doubt that a significant amount of this additional money, huge additional sums across the entire alliance, is going to go into the American defense industry. But I think Prime Minister Carney has made quite clear that he intends to expand our purchases from Canadian suppliers, as well as diversify some of those activities. So some of those dollars will flow to American companies, but I would be very surprised if all of them do.
But there are still a lot of dollars to figure out where it's coming from. We just spent, or are going to spend for this fiscal year, roughly $41 billion on defense. And that's not even getting us to the 2% threshold that NATO pledged for NATO countries in, 2013, 2015? So we just got there now. And to get to 5%, that would be $150 billion annually. Back to you both.
Okay, coming to us live from the newsroom, CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew, thank you. It's now 5:55, 29 degrees, feeling like 36 outside. This is Live at 5.
Adidas is releasing the iconic shoes that Terry Fox wore 45 years ago for his Marathon of Hope. After the break, we'll tell you how you can get your hands on a pair. Terry Fox's legendary running shoe is making a comeback.
Adidas Canada is re-releasing the iconic Orion to mark 45 years since the Marathon of Hope. It's part of Adidas's new Finish It collection, with all proceeds going to cancer research. The sneaker is going to be available to buy online at adidas.ca starting July 3rd.
You know, when you look at Terry and you feel the heat, for example, of today, what we're all living through in certain parts of Ontario, Terry lived through that every day, and those shoes, those incredibly simple shoes, drove him all of those 5,000 plus kilometers. So Adidas, to honor Terry, is re-releasing now for the third time. 2005 was the first, 2020 was the second, and now this year they're re-releasing the Orions for sale to benefit cancer research, and it's just an incredible gesture by this incredible company.
That announcement comes as Terry's brother, Daryl, and the National Ride of Hope passed through Thunder Bay. That's where Terry's cross-Canada run came to an end in 1980. The 7,000-kilometer ride across Canada has nearly reached its goal of raising $1 million for cancer research. I bet those will be sold out in a second.
It's now 5:59, 29 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is Live at 5. Stay with us. CTV News at 6 is coming right up.